So here's something I wanted to talk about. Pete Buttigieg. I think I'm mispronouncing it, to tell you the truth. But Pete Buttigieg. I know people have done videos about him already. Yeah, and so I'm kind of late to the party in this regard. And I wasn't really going to talk about him much at all. But we have been talking about the candidate some. So I thought I'd talk about him too. So I was at Mr. Graham Elwood's apartment because we had a crazy day yesterday. So what happened was we flew home from Austin, Texas, and our flight was at 6 in the morning, which was a little bit of a bummer because I would have loved to have hung out in Austin for the night. There was this really cool show going on that, ironically enough, featured one of the members of Social Distortion. I really wanted to go to it, but we had to fly out at 6 in the morning. And not only did we have to fly out at 6 in the morning, if I just had a 6 a.m. flight and I didn't have anything going on, I'd say, who cares? And I would just stay up all night. That's what I would do. Because I sleep on planes like a motherfucker. I can sleep on a plane. That's one advantage of being a small guy. I'm 5'4". I can sleep on a plane. I can sleep on a bus. I can sleep in the passenger seat in a car. I can sleep. I'm good at it. I could, honestly, if I tried hard enough, I could fall asleep right now on this live stream in this chair. Not really, because I know you guys are here, and also, I'm drinking coffee. But if we did, a stream where the theme was, can Ron fucking fall asleep, I could do it. And then somebody could be timing it, I would have Joe or Pasta on the other end timing it, and it could just be an experiment. We're gonna do that. In fact, we're gonna do a stream where I'm tired and I'm ready to fall asleep, and I'm gonna have my eye mask and everything else I do to sleep. And we're just be all right, we're gonna see, and I'll read your comments until I get super woozy, and we're gonna be how long does it take Ron to just fall asleep in this freaking chair? And I'm gonna fall asleep, and I'd be dude, 3 minutes, he was out. A lot of times on a plane, I am out before we take off. And Graham Elwood and I kind of have a fun inside joke about it now because he cannot sleep on planes at all. He cannot sleep on planes at all. So we have a running gag where when we get off the plane, I ask him how everything went. I'm hey man, what was beverage service like? And he'll make something up. He'll be oh dude, you missed it. There was this band showed up. They're one of your favorites, and they played a free set for everybody. And there was an open bar. They decided it was going to be an open bar the whole flight. And I'm oh shucks. And anyway, so yeah. Anyway, so my point is, I would have just bailed on the Austin, I would have just been let's stay up all night, and then I'll just go to the airport and not go to sleep, and then I'll pass out on the plane, and then get home and pass out some more, and then wake up and start my day. But we had to do aggressive progressives, so I knew I needed to be rested up for that, so I didn't go out in Austin. So we got on the plane to Austin, or from Austin, hit LA at 7:30 in the morning, went back to Graham's apartment because the part of town he lives in is more accessible to the studio than the part of town I live in. So we went to Graham's apartment, took a quick power nap, prepped for the show, got cleaned up, went to the TYT studios, did aggressive progressives. Then Graham Elwood went to another studio to do Comedy Film Nerds. That other studio was closer to where I live, so I went with him. And then my buddy picked me up. My buddy Pasta was borrowing my car while I was gone, so he picked me up and then took me back to my part of town. And then I went to the Jimmy Dore show where we did a live stream that I'm hoping some of you caught. And then straight from the Jimmy Dore show, I went to my acting class. I'm in an acting class every Tuesday. It's really fun. So that was my Tuesday. It was fucking nuts. And then finally at 11, me and my fiance tried to well, first of all, then after that, I watched my Penguins lose, and they're out of the playoffs. I can't believe they got swept. If Marcus or any other hockey fans are in the chat, once I go to the chat later today, talk some shit. You've earned it. You've earned it. My Penguins got swept. The Pittsburgh Penguins lost all four. I was surprised. The Islanders showed up. The Islanders were very well coached. And the Pens just didn't have it. What can you do? I was kind of bummed. I was kind of surprised. But it's still going to be a great postseason, even though they're not in it. I don't know who I'm rooting for at this point. I kind of have pressure to root for Boston because that's my fiance's team. But it's hard to root for a New England sports team if you're not already a New England sports fan. You know what I mean? But so we'll see. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'm usually inclined to be a Preds fan. I think they're still going. Because I used to live in Nashville, so I've always liked the Predators. I like the Canucks some too, but I'm pretty sure they're not in it. So we'll see. Anyway, so my Pens got swept. So I watched that. And then me and my fiance tried to rewatch the Game of Thrones episode because we did not get to watch it together, and we both fell asleep. So anyway, hell of a day. Reason I bring this up, while I was at Graham Elwood's apartment, we were watching this, we were just watching cable news just to kind of keep our minds going. We were both tired as fuck. And Pete Buttigieg was on CNN. And he was talking, and, you know, what he was saying was actually good at first. He was saying how, you know, I'm more interested, and I'm paraphrasing him, but he was kind of saying a lot of the stuff you hear on shows like this for the past 2 years and change. I'm more interested in how we got Donald Trump. That was kind of what he was saying. He's like, you know, a lot of us feel the same way about issues. A lot of us kind of connect on policy ideas and what we need. And how did we get to Donald Trump? Well, we got to Donald Trump because the system's broken and people were responding to that broken system. And we actually have a lot more in common than we realize on how to fix it. That, on the surface, he's absolutely right. So I kept watching. I was like, all right, that guy just made some sense. You know, I've heard some things about him. I've liked a couple things I've heard, not liked more things that I've heard. But that statement he just made a lot of sense. So now it's his opportunity to kind of say, for example, what she said. He was just like, you know, for instance. Now, think of how he set that up. He set it up with, you know, we got to Trump because of a broken system. And we actually have a lot more in common than we realize on how to fix this thing and on what we can do. Think of all the issues he could have brought up. Healthcare. There's a big one. Healthcare. Everybody wants to have healthcare, and they want to be able to afford it. Medicare for all. 70% of the country wants it at this point. Even a lot of Republicans are on board. Bernie Sanders was at a Fox News town hall and got applause and a standing ovation when talking about Medicare for all. Fox News. Which, by the way, there were some plants in that audience. Fox News town hall. So the country's ready. The country's ready. He could have brought up healthcare. He didn't. Living wages. People want to get paid a living wage for their work. Nobody should work an honest 40 hours a week job in this country and not be able to put food on the table and support a family and make a living wage. That shouldn't happen in this country. Period. He could have brought that up. Didn't do that. Free college. He could have mentioned that. No. Environment. Maybe he could have brought up like the environment. No. He brought up immigration. That was his issue. His issue was immigration. He was like, you know, most of us support a common sense way to handle immigration. You know, not demonizing families at the border and brutally treating these people at the border the way the Trump administration is doing. That's what he said. And that was when you realized that his answer came from a focus group. His answer, he took a survey and then someone handed this answer to him. Talk about how the system's broken and we need to fix it. Talk about the hot button issue of immigration and how you support a common sense thing. So you're not going to ruffle any feathers on either side. In immigration, a non-existent issue. We have a net zero immigration. Most of the illegal stuff that gets brought in, drugs and so forth, come via ports. It's a non-existent issue. The issue that's going on with immigration is the brutal tactics of ICE and organizations like it. And the fact that we're not really even looking at the causes of this. The causes of people wanting to come to this country is because of the brutal things we do across the world. And it's because of climate change, mostly. So talk about setting up the tee to really just knock it out of the park and then just swinging and missing the tee. That's what he did. And so I kind of thought, okay, well, I think that says a lot. When you see rhetorical moments like that, where you have this huge platform, and it's just one TV appearance, I know that, but you have this huge platform, you have something you can really lay out there, and you set it up beautifully. He did. He talks great. He's a likable guy. That's all true about that dude. Set it up great, and then just knocked it all over. It's like a baby builds this amazing building block thing where they spell out their name and you're like, holy shit. And then they just like take a shit on the floor and knock it all over before you get a picture. You know, it's like one of those. So let's take a brief look into this guy. yeah, this is what the video is about. So here he's running for president in 2020. Here's where he stands on 9 important issues. Healthcare. Because he's running for the 2020 race, Buttigieg has been asked again and again how he feels about Medicare for All. His response on Fox News, he explains he wants to put it on the exchange as a public option. He called it Medicare for All who want it. This would not involve eliminating the private insurance, but he has said that the idea... is that it would evolve, well, we've heard this before, into a single-payer environment, with most people choosing Medicare because it's the best option available. Let me shorten that. He doesn't support Medicare for All. He doesn't support Medicare for All because the last time a public option was on the table, it got eliminated. So he doesn't support Medicare for All. That's all there is to it. You know, you can't have the private... it'll eventually morph into a single-payer system. It will slowly but surely cocoon into a single-payer system. This is a subtle way of trying to keep the insurance companies on the table. You either support Medicare for All or you don't. He does not. And that's pretty much a full-stop thing right there. That's because, and a lot of people say, well, that's one issue, right? Why would you... write somebody off because of one issue? Well, when it's something like Medicare for All, here's what you're saying from a moral perspective, first of all. You're saying we have this predatory system that allows a bunch of people to get rich off of human health while making other people poor because they can't maintain their health. And I'm okay with it. That's what you're saying when you don't support Medicare for All. You're saying that's fine. When you do support Medicare for All, you're saying that's not okay. So I think if you're looking at a politician to support, that's a really big thing. The reason it's such a paramount issue is because find me one candidate that's not supportive of Medicare for All, but good on every other thing. Find me that candidate. Find me a candidate that doesn't support Medicare for All, but isn't a corporatist in every other, for instance. It doesn't exist. It's not like, for some reason they're not on board for Medicare for All, but they want to end the wars. They want to break up the big banks. They're for the fight for 15. They're for the Green New Deal. Everything except for, find me that candidate. Seriously, if it's out there, let me know. It's not, because you're bending the knee to the donor class by not supporting Medicare for All. So that kind of tells you everything you need to know right there. But let's go on here. Economy. If nothing changes economically, we'll be the first generation to make less than our parents. I think that's already happening, actually. But I'm not going to nitpick just a statement like this. Buttigieg has said the Democratic Party needs to be in conversation with labor unions and supports the economic opportunities presented in the Green New Deal. Okay. Addressing... All right. He also told Esquire that he believes in addressing or reversing harm and inequities through policy, explaining that in housing and in criminal justice, to some extent in basic economic policies around wages and taxation, that some policy improvements that are also the right thing to do will have a disproportionate benefit to people of color. Okay, so he supports DACA, a path to citizenship. All right, so these are all just kind of general things that are kind of just Democratic Party things you're going to hear. He's pro-choice. He's been outspoken about gun policy, although this is pretty much just lip service. Taxes. Buttigieg refers to a divisive idea from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Divisive is the verbiage of the article, not me. Who has suggested we have a 70% marginal tax rate. He said we can quibble over marginal tax rate levels, but we know a lot of people in this country are not paying their fair share. Again, that was nice of that focus group to give him that answer. He'll distance himself from AOC. Well, we can quibble over the rates, but some people aren't paying their fair share. What a soft, surface-oriented answer. That's not going to ruffle any feathers and isn't going to alarm the donor class too much. So there's two very big things that this guy is kind of just more of the establishment talking points on. Two very big, Medicare for All, which is a big one. When someone bends the knee on Medicare for All, they bend the knee on pretty much everything else. That's always how it is. And that's certainly what it sounds like for him. I like the idea of raising the minimum wage. Yeah, Green New Deal, there's some cool ideas there. We can discuss the tax rate, but, people aren't paying their fair share. So my overall take on this guy is that he is a slightly more determined Beto O'Rourke. That's pretty much what he sounds like to me. He's still kind of an establishment candidate. He at least has a few concrete things compared to Beto O'Rourke, which is saying pretty much nothing, because that's what Beto O'Rourke says. Nothing. Stand on something, stand for nothing. That's Beto O'Rourke. Pete Buttigieg has a couple things he said, but I kind of feel like that cable news appearance that I saw is very metaphorical for the type of candidate he is. He'll say some nice things and set up some nice things, but then you see where he's really at, and it's just more of the status quo. And we fell for that one before.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your news on with Ron.